Hi, I'm Stefan Korshak, the Kyiv Post defense correspondent, and as part of our end-of-the-year coverage, I'd like to recap some of the major Ukrainian behind-the-lines attacks this year. The bottom line is they really picked up. If, during 2023, the fighting line in the Russo-Ukraine war stayed pretty much stagnant behind Russian lines, Ukrainian special operators played havoc again and again. On May 13, Russian aircraft flying over Russia's western Bryansk region started blowing up. Supposedly, that was safe airspace. It was about 70 kilometers from the Ukrainian border and more than 100 kilometers from anywhere the Ukrainians could set up an air defense system. The only possible weapon that could be responsible, it seemed, was an American Patriot missile system. Ukraine had received its first battery, and that was set up around Kyiv. And that was too far from Russia to attack the aircraft in Russian skies. A second system, from Germany, arrived in April. Everyone thought Ukraine's second Patriot system was too valuable to risk parking anywhere near Russia. According to later reports, operators for the second Patriot system moved at night in disguised vehicles. They set their equipment up within a few kilometers of Russia, and then they turned on their radars. In less than an hour, 5 Russian aircraft were knocked down. One was a valuable Su-24 tactical bomber. One was a top-end Su-34 fighter jet. And 2 were helicopters crammed with electronic gear designed to find enemy radars. The last shoot-down was a rescue helicopter sent to search for pilots that bailed out. There were 0 Ukrainian losses. Where that Patriot battery is now is a Ukrainian military secret. In late August and early September, the Ukrainians made good on a threat that they would retaliate against Russian bombers launching missiles at Ukrainian towns and cities. Up until that point, the Russian bombers had been able to make attacks with impunity, since they were based deep in Russia. On August 19th, images appeared of one Russian Tu-22 strategic bomber, a missile carrier, burning on an airfield called Soltse, some 700 kilometers inside of Russia. At least one other bomber was damaged. The Kremlin kept silent, while the Russian internet said maybe it was kamikaze drones. Then, on August 21st, at least 12 Ukrainian drones hit a military airfield near the city of Kursk. This was 600 kilometers inside of Russia. At least 5 military aircraft were hit. Official Ukrainian sources later announced they used a newly developed drone called a Mergin, which is about the size of a motorcycle, and they used it to evade the air base's defenses and hit the aircraft. Also, 2 Russian anti-drone batteries were blown up. The Ukrainian internet later reported the Ukrainians launched a swarm of little Australian cardboard drones to spoof the Russian radars. But there was no official confirmation about that. About a week later, according to satellite photos, the airfield was evacuated. Right after that, in late August, in the Russia-occupied Black Sea peninsula at Crimea, some Ukrainian commandos landed and blew up a Russian early warning radar and some elements of Russia's best anti-aircraft system, an anti-missile missile called the S-400. The Kremlin said it was a pinprick. Then, on September 13, the Ukrainians launched around 10 British Storm Shadow cruise missiles that are designed to destroy ships at Russia's Black Sea Fleet home base in the Crimean port of Sevastopol. Under normal circumstances, the Russian early warning radar and the S-400 should have intercepted the Ukrainian Storm Shadow missiles, but they had been blown up by the commandos. So, the Storm Shadow missiles blew up a Russian Navy big amphibious landing ship, a missile submarine, and even better for the Ukrainians, The smashed ships and other strikes left all 3 military dry docks in Sevastopol port ruined. That meant that the Russian Navy had no place to repair not just the ships that had already been hit, but ones that might get hit in the future. The Kremlin said almost all the missiles were shot down and that the damage was minor and that it would be quickly repaired. 3 days after that, 2 more Storm Shadow missiles plowed into Black Sea Fleet headquarters during a senior staff meeting. Reports are conflicting, but it appears that dozens of Russian naval commanders were killed or injured, including the vice boss of the entire fleet. The Russians accused the Ukrainians of targeting civilians and said everything was fine. But by the beginning of October, except for small boats and patrol cutters, the Russian fleet had evacuated Sevastopol. The last time they did that was when the Germans invaded in 1941. For more than a year, the Ukrainians have been begging Washington for ATACMS missiles, which are a medium-range weapon that carries a big warhead throwing explosive bomblets over an area the size of several football fields. Americans had refused for a long time. According to the White House, if America gave Ukraine medium-range missiles, Russia might do something aggressive. In October, the Americans announced they were thinking about changing their minds, and on October 17th, something between 4 and 18 ATACMS missiles hit Russian airfields near the occupied cities of Bryansk and Luhansk. To say the Russian military wasn't expecting the strikes is an understatement. At minimum, 9 Russian attack or transport helicopters were cut to pieces by the bomblets. Also destroyed were, at least, 2 anti-aircraft systems stationed at the airfields to protect the airfields from missile attacks. Accounts vary, but likely between 10 and 20 more Russian aircraft were damaged. It was, very probably, the worst single day of Russian Air Force losses since World War II. The Americans reportedly only gave the Ukrainians 10 to 20 ATACMS total, so for now, other Russian air bases are relatively safe, it looks like. On November 30th, during the night, in a remote Russian Siberian region called Buryatia, a train carrying diesel fuel and aviation gas drove into a mountain tunnel. And then, at least 5 train cars blew up and there was a huge fire. Ukrainian special services took credit. The strike shut down traffic along the main railroad used by Russia to import goods from its friends in China, which provides dual-use goods, and North Korea, which is right now Russia's best source of artillery ammunition. Fixing the rail break was complicated because the tunnel is in a mostly roadless region. It goes under, is on a fault line, and so water leaks are continuous. Also, this is Siberia, so repair crews are facing temperatures of 20 degrees below and worse. The Kremlin said it was a minor problem and that traffic would keep moving because, fortunately, there was a bypass line around the tunnel that takes trains through a mountain pass. Ukrainian saboteurs blew up a bridge leading to the pass the next day. Thanks for watching. I'm Stefan Korshak, the Kyiv Post defense correspondent. Please like and pass it on to your friends. Have a great holiday.